Hi, everyone. Welcome to Marketing Environmental Analysis. I'm Katie Allred, and I'm excited to break down what marketing environmental analysis means. Basically, what it means is that we're going to be looking at a lot of different factors and how they can affect how a company sells their products. So let's get into it. The overview of what we'll be covering today is the definition of marketing analysis and why it's important. So, understanding how all of these factors help businesses know what's happening and how to plan better. And throughout the presentation, I'm going to share some facts, some fun stories that will help you better understand the content and the context of the questions. So, for example, here's a quick story about Coca-Cola and how they use environmental analysis to stay ahead in the market. So in the early 2000s, Coca-Cola realized that they needed to come up with a different product because of the marketing environmental analysis that they did. They realized that the people were actually drinking less sugary drinks. So health trends were changing, right? This is a social trend. It's a health trend. Wellness, health and wellness is a big trend still to this day. And people were becoming health conscious. They were cutting back. And by analyzing these trends, Coca-Cola realized that they wanted to invest in healthier beverage options, which is why they decided to acquire companies like Honest Tea, or they invented Bubbly, the sparkling water beverage. So there's a lot of different reasons why companies might use environmental analysis to figure out what's going on in the world around them and how that might affect how they market their products. Some learning objectives today. By the end of this talk, you'll know how things like customers, competitors, and new technology affect marketing. You also learn about important social trends and why businesses must pay attention to the world around them. Okay, let's talk about the immediate environment, also known as the micro environment, depending on, who you might be talking to. So the immediate environment is composed of four different factors. This includes the company's capabilities, what its strengths are, its competitors, its corporate partners, as well as its physical environment, so the physical world at large. Okay, so let's break down what company capabilities are. Company capabilities really focuses on satisfying customer needs that match its core competency. So what is this company really good at, right? So an example would be Corning Glass. Corning Glass is known for making glass that goes in glasses. It's actually known for making bakeware, like the glass bakeware that you've seen. It's known for making glasses that go in light bulbs. But now, more than ever, what they produce, probably the most of, is glass that goes into iPhones. So Steve Jobs actually approached Corning about creating an unbreakable glass, and Corning was able to develop this Gorilla Glass. We now know it's not really unbreakable, but it is very strong. And it's the first glass that was used in a smartphone, because up until that point, plastic was used. And so that's kind of a shift, just showing a shift of how a company's core capability, right, or a core competency can be used to market something differently. And, another example could be Kodak. Kodak made film, right? And so film actually is just a chemical process, and creating film is a chemical process. And what Kodak found was, obviously film isn't as huge a need anymore, but they, during COVID, were able to actually shift their core competency of chemical processing and help create more vaccines. And so I think it's interesting how we might shift our core competencies based on what the environment is telling us. Now, competitors. It's really important for you as a company to understand your competitors' strengths, your competitors' weaknesses, and their likely reactions. An example of this might be Coke versus Pepsi. Continuous adaptation to each other's marketing strategies is really important. Pepsi wants to launch an aggressive marketing campaign targeted towards younger audiences, and so Coke responded by enhancing its own marketing efforts towards younger audiences. So, maybe a question you could put down in the comments or in the chat, or however you might be watching this, is think about what are some ways that companies can learn about their competitors, right? There's market research, there's focus groups, all those kind of things. So just better understanding who your competitors are, reading their annual reports, those kind of things will help you understand what their next move might be. Another part of the micro environment or the immediate environment are corporate partners. So corporate partners are really important to a firm's success, right? So Apple's collaboration with Foxconn for manufacturing was a huge reason that they were successful. And partners can be really helpful. They can also be kind of hurtful. So, we need to make sure we choose our partners really wisely. And Apple, working with Foxconn, was able to make their products more efficient and actually help them make more high quality items. It helped them scale the amount of items they were able to put out and lowered costs. So the partnership was really good for them at the time. Of course, we've probably seen some news on Foxconn and Apple in the mail, and maybe how the working conditions weren't great. And so that's where you can see that a corporate partner does affect how your company is portrayed, right? Okay, in the physical environment. So, what are some things in the physical environment that our company needs to pay attention to? And especially this focuses on being eco friendly. So, topics like sustainability, green marketing, greenwashing. An example of that would be Patagonia's commitment to environmental sustainability. So, you might have not known that Patagonia encourages customers to buy used Patagonia gear through their Worn and Wear program. You can actually buy the used products online. You can also buy the used products in store, and it helps to reduce environmental impact. There's several companies that do things like this now, but Patagonia was the first. Another example that comes to mind is REI. You can sell your used equipment back to REI and then get a credit or whatever, and they can resell it. Okay, the immediate environment, aka the micro environment. All these things we just covered. I want to make sure that we all remember what they are, the four things: the company capabilities, competitors, corporate partners, and the physical environment. Okay, now we're going into the macro environment, or this is like the broader world. So, how these broader things like culture, demographics, social trends, technology, the economy, and politics, and how all of these things affect how businesses operate. So, cultural factors influence what people buy. So, McDonald's changes its menu in different countries to match local taste. So, a fun fact is an example: I went to McDonald's in India, and while I was there, I got a mixed spicy paneer, which is just a fried piece of cheese. And they actually have a ton more vegetarian options in India because there are a lot more vegetarians in India. Also, because of religion, there's a lot more vegetarians in India. And so it was really neat to see how they adapted to local taste and preferences and helped them to connect better with their customers there. So other things that might affect your company are demographics. Obviously, you should consider this. I think a lot of times we automatically jump to demographics when we're thinking about marketing. And obviously, there's a lot more that goes into it than just demographics. But the four major demographics are age, gender, income, and education. And examples of these some demographic trends that are happening is obviously there's a huge aging population with the boomers aging out into retirement, the changing ethnic mix of the workforce, and obviously women in the workforce as well. So Nike has taken this example and created this campaign called Dream Crazier that targeted young female athletes and inspired them and encouraged them to pursue their dreams, which helped them build a strong connection with this demographic. So you've probably seen tons of commercials for lots of different types of products. Dove Real Beauty targets women, obviously, but Dove has products for men. And so you can see where they have changed depending on who they're trying to reach. Social trends. So social trends change all the time. These are some that have maintained over the last probably 30, 40 years. However, I would say that they come and go pretty frequently based on taste and cultural preferences. And so I would, to stay up to date in social trends, like you could go to trends.google.com, see what people are searching for, what they're looking for. You could go, which is basically trends. Google Trends is a place where you can see what people are searching for across the world, which is really awesome in real time. And then you could obviously read the news, stay up to date with local marketing newsletters. Those kind of things really do help. But here's some key social trends right now affecting marketing. Sustainability is a huge one, obviously, that we talked about earlier. Health and wellness is a big one as well, and the efficient utilization of resources. So being more efficient, how can we use less but make more? So an example of maybe the health and wellness factor is Beyond Meat. So Beyond Meat, or the Impossible Burger, came onto the scene recently, and actually on its first day of being a stock, like its IPO, the stock price surged over 160% on its first day in 2019, which I think just really shows how we need to create products that appeal to trends, right? Two growing trends as they appear, because obviously this appealed to both vegetarians and eaters that were looking for healthier options. Technological advances. So there's a lot of technological advances that might happen today and that are happening now. I think a big one is AI, of course. AI has actually been around a lot longer than I think people have realized. However, we have just now gotten to noticing it, I think. And also, it's become more available to consumers. So that's a big part of it as well. But the impact that technological advances play on marketing really changes how we sell our products, so, and how we position them in the market. So new products that come on the scene, that those are technological advances. Obviously, when Tesla debuted their electric car, that forced other car companies to change how they were marketing their hybrids, which was all they had at the time. And then they also developed new products, right? So they developed new electric cars themselves. Different communication forms also help change these things. So things like text messaging, just having having a phone with you at all times, being able to be reached. Obviously, these communication forms have changed. Emojis are even a technological advancement, or something that would be considered like a new communication form, because they all mean something differently, and they mean something differently to each generation, which is interesting. Again, AI, robotics, I think that's huge. Again, I think a lot of that helps with the efficient use of resources. The Internet of Things, which is basically how your house is now connected to the internet, and how, like even my thermostat in there, I can, talk to a certain AI in my home and turn the thermostat up or down. I can turn lights on and off. And that's a huge technological advancement. It's also made people rethink how they make products, right? Because before, voice technology wasn't something that was here, but now it is. So it's made people change. And then privacy concerns is also a huge technological advancement as well. It's something that we'll talk about a little bit in the political and legal environment in just a minute. So let's talk about Amazon's AI recommendation engine. So AI, or actually Amazon's recommendation engine, accounts for 35% of its total sales. It's probably more than that now. I think the statistic wasn't the newest, but I think what's interesting is that we're just now like noticing that it was using AI. A lot of people are, and it has been around for a very long time. AI and those things we've been using them for a long time. The way that we've been using them has changed. Or, for example, Facebook's algorithm, most of the time when people are using the word algorithm, it has some artificial intelligence baked into it, right? Because it's showing you what you want to see, and the way it's you can purchase ads and then show them to a certain demographic or certain type of person. It's using some artificial intelligence to put together what kind of person you are trying to reach. So my question to you, if you want to put it down in the chat or think about it, is how do you think technology will change the way we shop in the future? Obviously, we went from retail to online. There was the omni-channel approach of retail catalogs online, and now it's really kind of went online. And I think even people are getting more and more comfortable with ordering their groceries online and those kind of things. Where before people really preferred to go in person to do those types of things. I think we are going to see even more continuing of that shift of buying things online that we traditionally bought in person. I think Carvana is a good example of trying to push this in a different way, right? So Carvana, you can buy a car online. They will deliver it to you just like you would on Amazon, essentially, and you could buy an entire car, do the whole process without talking to a person. And so, again, just another example of how technological advances have changed the way that we shop and also how we might change the way we market our products. Cars have been around a long time. Buying a car online hasn't, right? So it's just a different way. The economic situation around us and the broader world also affects our consumer behavior. So it affects how people spend their money. So, for example, during the 2008 financial crisis, people obviously changed how they spent their money. Many companies had to lower their prices or offer discounts. And right now, we are seeing a different financial crisis of inflation, right? So a lot of our products are going up in price, but our money isn't, right? So we're not seeing additional money to help cover the cost of those items. And also we're seeing something called shrinkflation, where we might, reduce the amount of product in our products like cereal or whatever, reduce the number of ounces and sell it for the same price so that people think they're still getting the same value. And so those financial crises really do change how we might market our products. A slightly less fun fact is that during the 2008 financial crisis, lipstick sales increased as consumers turned to smaller indulgences. So people buy smaller, nice things when the economy isn't going well. Estee Lauder actually was the first to notice this, which I think is kind of a fun fact. And it's actually happening again now as we speak. The lipstick index is up. The political and legal environment. The laws and politics, they do affect marketing. So the GDPR in the EU has changed how companies collect and use customer data. So many companies had to update their privacy policies and their data protection measures to comply with GDPR. GDPR, it is an EU law, so European Union law. It does affect the United States if you are primarily working, or maybe you are working at all in the EU, or you're expecting your website to ever be opened by somebody in the EU, then you need to, pay attention to what GDPR means. And so there is a law here now in the United States, in California. I think it's the California Protection Act, something like that. California Consumer Protection Act, something like that. And it's very similar to this. And a fun fact is why GDPR was created was basically to protect people's privacy on the internet, what they're browsing, what they're seeing. And that is why you have to accept or decline cookies now or on websites. So those cookies are tracking you. They are finding out what your preferences are, and it is allowing that company to use your data to feed you better ads across the internet. Another thing is that we have to respond to all these environmental changes. So just, when you're looking at all of these forces, a good example of company looking at shifting, they started as a DVD company, right? Netflix started as a DVD company, but they moved to streaming to stay current with what was going on in the world, right? In their environmental analysis, they found, hey, people aren't renting, or people will want to change once the internet becomes more mainstream. And so shifting that thought process from a physical item to a streaming platform was huge. and it actually helped shift the entire industry. So, Netflix starting as a DVD company and then shifting, today they now have 200 million subscribers, where if they never shifted, they might be out like Blockbuster was. Just a brief overview again of these macro environmental factors, things like culture, demographics, economic situation, social trends, technological advances, and political and legal environments. All these affect how businesses operate and how they market. A brief summary of what we covered today. Understanding the marketing environmental analysis is essential for developing effective strategies. We talked about the importance of both analyzing the immediate and macro environment, including company strengths, competitors, partners, cultural factors, demographics, social trends, technology, the economy, and politics. Some key takeaways today that I want you to think about is just how analyzing the marketing environment helps businesses stay competitive, how responding to change is essential for success, and how we might continuously monitor and adapt as we move in our business, right? As our business moves forward in time, we need to continuously monitor and make sure that we are positioned well for growth. Here are some additional resources that you might find interesting, some books and some links that might be helpful as you are looking. And also, here are my list of references. Thank you again for attending. I appreciate it. Let me know if you have any questions. And I appreciate you letting me be here today.